Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, President Rodrigo Duterte defends Health Secretary Francisco Duque amid allegations of anomalies in the government's COVID-19 response. The president also expresses his confidence on the honesty and integrity of his people despite the ombudsman probe. Also, the president orders Environment Secretary Roque to oversee the coronavirus situation in Cebu City. And later, the fate of the anti-terrorism bill. And is the Duterte cabinet willing to work with Vice President Leni Robredo in its coronavirus efforts? Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque joins us live. Once again, President Rodrigo Duterte defends Health Secretary Francisco Duque on the allegations hurled against him. The president assures the public that there are no anomalies in the government's response to the coronavirus pandemic. Here's the president in his own words.
Pero sa uban, kaso I stand by, taya ko yung reputasyon ko as president sa lahat. Walang kalokohan nga nahitabo.
Meanwhile, the president is shifting his focus on the alarming rise of cases in Cebu City. Orders Environment Secretary Roque to oversee the situation there. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have presidential spokesperson Harry Roque. Secretary Roque, thank you for your time, sir. Secretary Roque. Secretary Roque, can you hear me? All right, doesn't seem like the secretary can hear me right now. We're going to try to get him back again on the line, hopefully a better communication there. So basically, really, the president had addressed the nation again last night, and we wanted to talk about this because, again, he's defending Secretary Francisco Duque of the Department of Health, despite this ongoing probe by the ombudsman. If you recall, the ombudsman already issued subpoenas to the Department of Health, likewise to the Department of Budget and Management, to get papers and documents on the budget that has been released and basically where this went. So in spite of that, also, there have been in the past 14 senators who have asked Secretary Francisco Duque, also even Senator Win Gatchalian, saying he should take a leave of absence pending this investigation. We're going to try him again. Secretary Harry Roque, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning, Pinky, and good morning to all our televiewers.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your time. Let me start with this, Secretary Roque. I was already saying before you went on air, we were fixing our line to you that the president again defending Secretary Duque, and he says, I quote, "I place my reputation on Sec Duque that there was no corruption that happened there." What I want to know from you, Sec Roque, is, does this mean possibly that the ombudsman's investigation may not go anywhere with words like that coming from the president?
You're choppy. I couldn't hear your question, but yes, the president said that he continues to have trust and confidence on Secretary Duque, because otherwise, and let me make this clear, if the president no longer has that trust and confidence, then he would have fired Secretary Duque already. So he's just saying that he puts his personal reputation on the line here. He says that he has full trust and confidence in all members of his cabinet, including Secretary Duque.
What kind of an effect do you think that would have on the ongoing probe coming from the ombudsman?
Well, I think not much, because the ombudsman is an independent body. It's headed by a seasoned litigator and former trial court judge and Supreme Court justice. I think he can discern facts for himself. So I think he will proceed with his own probe, regardless of what the president has said. And in any case, what was mentioned was the president was vouching for the integrity of individuals, and the ombudsman knows that its mandate goes beyond personalities. No, so I think on the basis of his public pronouncement, he's also going to deal with the issue of efficiency in government, as well as possible breaches of the anti-graft law.
Yeah. So, in spite of the president standing by Secretary Duque, this probe should not be affected in any way.
In fact, the president said, with all due respect to the ombudsman, so the president knows the independence of the office, and he knows that because he has appointed Ombudsman Martinez twice to the Supreme Court and to the ombudsman, he knows that the ombudsman is independent and is infinitely qualified to proceed with an investigation such as this.
Secretary Roque, some possibly are asking why the continued trust of the president. Secretary Roque, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, although I'm tempted to remove the video because the reception might be better without video. But anyway, go ahead. I can hear you.
Okay. Let's try that one more time. I was saying that possibly a lot of people are asking why the continued trust of the president on Secretary Duque in spite of the probe, in spite of 14 senators asking for his resignation. Also, lately, Senator Win Gatchalian saying maybe the health secretary should take a leave of absence rather pending this investigation. What can you tell us about the kind of trust and confidence the president has on the Secretary of Health?
What I do know as a matter of personal knowledge, is he is very close to the brother of Secretary Duque, Attorney Gons Duque. No? And what I understand is Attorney Gons Duque was the only one who welcomed the president in the Gupan City when he ran as president. And of course, the friendship of the president with Attorney Gons Duque go way back from his presidency. They have known each other for a long time. They're both San Beda Law graduates. And we can only say that they have a very close and deep friendship.
So he believes, is it safe to say, that he believes in the integrity of Secretary Duque because the president is close to the brother of Secretary Duque?
Well, that he mentioned it actually last night. It was no longer included in the broadcast, but he mentioned that when he appointed Secretary Duque, he had only met him once in a hotel by accident, no? And it is the brother whom he knows very well, no? And he also said that he knows the family to be very wealthy, owning a school, a university, and various other businesses in Dagupan, and that the Duques don't have to steal from government, no, because they're already affluent.
But again, may I ask my question again so I don't misquote you? And just to clarify, does he believe in the integrity of Secretary Duque because he believes in the integrity of the brother and the family, sir?
Well, he believes in the integrity of Secretary Duque because he doesn't see anything that has been criminally committed by Secretary Duque himself. He has said that people make mistakes, and for as long as these are honest mistakes, then he's willing to go beyond these mistakes. But as a matter of integrity, he believes that the Duque family will not steal. He knows their background very well. They have good, well, not only are they affluent, but they also have the values because he knows the brother very well.
Okay. All right. Let me shift topics now, Sec. Too confident and too complacent. That's what the president was saying about possibly what happened in Cebu City. What we're looking at is about 4,500 cases, the largest number, overtaking even Quezon City. And now we have Secretary Simatu to oversee the situation in Cebu. What would be the strategy that you can tell us in addressing the situation in Cebu City?
Well, the marching order to Secretary Simato is do what you must do. Implement the policies of the IATF, act on behalf of the IATF. You don't need to ask permission from IATF, but perhaps you should give notice to the IATF. I want you to be my eyes and ears. Something has to be done to curtail the spread of the disease in Cebu City, and he believes that Secretary Simato is the man to do it.
And what can be done, Sec Roque? Was it discussed last night?
It wasn't, no, but the general strategy really is to test, isolate, and treat, no. So I think that's anyone in the position of Secretary Simato will just have to focus on those three, no. And of course, there will have to be strict implementation also of the ECQ, because otherwise it could spill over to the rest of Cebu province as well as to the rest of the Visayas, no. So we beseech the understanding of our brothers in Cebu City. This is not just for their own welfare, but for the welfare of the entire Visayas region, if not the entire country.
The deaths in Saudi Arabia, I wanted to discuss that. Yung mga kababayan po natin sa Saudi Arabia, Sec Roque, I don't know if you can clarify this, but I seem to be getting two numbers. One is from Sec Bello and one is from the Philippine ambassador to Saudi Arabia. Do you have the numbers of deaths in Saudi Arabia of OFWs? How many need to return and how many are really positive? Because I'm hearing some are saying 50 positive COVID-19 and some are saying 100.
Well, I have heard that around 50 of them died because of COVID, and the 50 will have to be buried in Saudi Arabia. The total number of those who died is in excess of 250. No, I don't have the right figures now because my Código is not with me right now since I'm doing a broadcast from home. No, but what I'm sure about is that 50 of them will be buried already in Saudi Arabia because they died by reason of COVID.
Yun na po, Sec Roque, no ifs, no buts. Wala na pong choice. Yun yung mga pamilya ng namatayan ng 50.
Well, para po sa COVID, talagang we have health issues. Kasi alam niyo po, in Saudi, they don't allow cremation and they don't even allow, if I'm not mistaken, embalming under the Muslim faith. No? So it's too much of a health concern to bring home the cadavers of COVID victims. In the Philippines, they are, of course, cremated as soon as possible. No, but I think that's also not possible in Saudi Arabia because they also don't allow cremations under the Muslim faith. No, so and at the same time, under their faith, they have to be buried right away. That's why we were given only 72 hours to bring home the remains of our countrymen. Now, what complicates matters, of course, is that Saudi Arabia is still on complete lockdown. There's still no air transportation, and the option is for us to charter, and not just charter, but ask for special permission, of course, for the charter to bring home the remains.
And I heard you yesterday in your press briefing, Sec, sabi niyo po na those 50 who died will get the benefits due them. All right, we're gonna take a short break. We're gonna fix this communication with the Sec Roque. We'll be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque. I want to go back to the situation in Saudi Arabia. Sir, I just want to bring this in because the Philippine ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Ambassador Alonto, was saying there are 353 deaths, 107 COVID deaths, and yung 246 are natural causes. A lot of the question really is, bakit po ang taas? Are you even surprised na ang dami pong namatay na kababayan po natin sa Saudi Arabia and we don't even know the cause of death?
Well, alam niyo po, hindi naman po siguro nakakasurpresa kasi pinakamarami po talagang OFWs natin dyan sa Kingdom ng Saudi Arabia. No? I'm not sure about the exact number, but they are the number one destination for Filipino OFWs. And that's why when you're talking of a period over 3 months, you have this figure, this very high figure. But I'm also very concerned that yun nga po, marami ring mga COVID na naging biktima ng COVID, no? And relative to the the national numbers of Saudi Arabia, parang mas marami po talagang mga Pilipinong nadali ng COVID. And I could only surmise na siguro dahil mga nakatira sila sa mga dormitoryo, no? So parang mahirap siguro mag-social distancing kasi mga OFW housing din ang mga tinutuluyan nila. Pero that's purely speculative but born from human experience naman po.
Okay. Yung pong pagpapauwi sa kanila, nakakasana ho ba yun, Sec Roque, yung 246 or so who died of natural causes?
Well, I know that we are already chartering, and there was talk, in fact, last night that they will be chartering up to 3 flights, no, to bring home the remains, no. So we're not sparing any expense for bringing home the remains of those who could be brought home, and acknowledge the difference in figures. But I think we will have to defer to the figures of the ambassador because he is on the ground, and we are in fact only relying on figures sent to us by our mission. So I concede that the figure should be the figure of the ambassador, which means, which explains why there was a mention of 3 possible chartered flights just to bring home the remains of our kababayan.
Yeah, I believe Sec Roque, sinabi po ni Ambassador Alonto yon dun sa Laging Handa briefing yesterday. Again, let me talk about this, also very important, Sec, yung locally stranded individuals. So a lot of them, hundreds of them, nagdagsaan na po sa Philippine Army because let's go back to the situation really. Tumuloy po sila sa ilalim ng NAIA X dahil gusto na pong makaalis, hindi po makaalis, kaya dun muna nanirahan sa ilalim ng tulay. Dinala sa Philippine Army ng DOTR, ngayon nandun po sila. And what's happening, Sec, is that hanggang dun sa labas ng Philippine Army ay nakalinya na po yung mga locally stranded individuals. Ano ho kaya ang plano sa kanila? Because I believe doon po sa gymnasium, they can only accommodate a certain capacity, if I'm not mistaken, sir, about 400.
Well, kagabi po, pinag-usapan din yan, no? So yung housing them in Air Force facilities is part of the temporary solution, but the more permanent solution, of course, is to try to bring them home, no? The president mentioned several alternatives. There was an offer from Governor Chavit Singson to lend about 400 buses on 2 dates in July to bring home locally stranded individuals. And the president said we should take up the offer of Governor Singson. Another option, of course, is to charter flights to bring home the stranded individuals. Although the feeling is the airlines should also be somehow responsible because these are individuals who have confirmed flight tickets, no? But unfortunately, their flights were canceled, no? So, but there has to be coordination with the local airlines, of course, no? And then the third option is actually bringing them home by ship. And the president preferred this because at least they will have the amenities of a bed and a working toilet. And although it would take more time, we could bring home more numbers of individuals compared to buses and planes, no? So we're now talking actually of government itself taking steps to make sure that they are able to go home. And Secretary Galvez has also said that now that we have substantial PCR kits that have arrived, and we now have about 1 million of them, then it is possible to give PCR tests also to these locally stranded individuals before they leave for the provinces so they will not be carriers of disease.
Right. But Secretary Roque, isn't the problem really with the local government units? Because the reason the LSIs can't leave and the reason the flights are canceled is because ayaw pa po sila tanggapin, hindi ho ba ng local government units. So the problem lies at the back end, yung kanila dapat napuntahan, yung kanilang dapat uuwian, dahil hindi ho ba the mandate was hindi sila makakapasok until umuo yung LGU.
That's true po, no? And that's why I think key to all this is the PCR testing capacity, no? Kapag naman PCR po natin yan, that would also inspire confidence on the part of the LGUs to accept them. Pero ang pakiusap po talaga ng presidente ngayon, huwag naman nating tanggihan yung pag-uwi ng ating mga kababayan. They have a right to go home to their hometowns. And although their concerns are valid, even without PCR testing capacity in the province, ilalagay mo lang naman po sila sa quarantine facilities. Merong isang rehiyon lang naman sa buong Pilipinas na wala talagang quarantine facilities, no? Pero wala rin naman mga kaso talaga doon, no? So ang pakiusap ng presidente, kung walang PCR capacity ang probinsya, i-quarantine ng 14 days. Miski po may sakit yan, after 14 days, tapos na po yan. Pero kung may PCR capacity naman and government has taken steps to improve the PCR capacities of the different LGUs in the provinces, bigyan na lang ng PCR doon. No? Sa ngayon po kasi, hindi sapat yung PCR kits natin na nasa Manila. It was only sapat for the OFWs and there's 54,000 of them who have come home. No? Pero now that we have taken delivery of 1 million PCR testing kits, we are looking at really administering PCR tests to the locally stranded individuals before they are sent back home.
When kaya ito mangyayari, sir?
Nandito na po yung PCR testing kits. So it's just a matter of distributing them to the labs and ensuring naman this time that we have enough manpower to do it. No? So we have the testing kits now. Naubusan po yan na nung recent days. So kinakailangan na lang na yung capacity talagang ma-utilize, no? Because we now have very high testing capacity, but still the numbers of actual testings remain between 10 to 12,000.
All right, we'll be taking another short break. We'll be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque. Sir, last night the president said siya mismo, he hates the lockdown. Sabi nga niya, kung maging reckless, ay sorry na lang kung sino man ang maging reckless. And ang sabi po niya, he plans to go around the country to visit military camps. Why the need to do this, sir? And what else is in the pipeline for the president when he goes around?
Well, I'm hoping the president can actually do it, but PSG is rather strict as far as his movement is concerned, because as you know, he is a senior citizen and part of the especially vulnerable population to this disease. But I think the president will insist to visit his troops. He has a scheduled visit. I don't think I'm at liberty to say exactly where he's going, but let's just say it's an area where there's been intensified fighting recently, and quite a number of soldiers have been killed, wounded in action. No? This has been one of the most important, the president to show support to the troops who are, no? And I think this time around, even if the PSG will object, he will insist, no? And after all, he is still the president and he wants to do it. There will be precautions taken. He will just address the troops from a distance, unlike in the past where he freely mingles with them. No? And I think this will be the compromise.
Okay, anti-terror bill. Still, a lot of people asking about this. The president said it was on his table, but he did not read it. He gave it to his legal team. Sec, who is his legal team? Because my understanding is also the DOJ already submitted their study on the proposal on the anti-terrorism bill to the president.
Yeah, he's referring, of course, to the Office of the Executive Secretary, specifically the Deputy Executive Secretary for Legal Affairs, DESLA. No? And of course, we all hold office in Malacanang. And that's why I know that as a matter of course, all proposed legislation go to that office for vetting, and they will then prepare a memorandum together with transmittal of the actual bill, no, for the president, no, with a recommendation. That's what he is waiting for, and he has said that it will take 1 or 2 days, then he will make his own decision. He has reiterated and emphasized that he will personally review the bill for constitutional infirmities. He's just looking for constitutional infirmities.
So yung 1 or 2 days, when do you expect the bill to be read and analyzed and studied by the president?
Well, it will really depend when the Office of the Executive Secretary concludes their recommendation. No? What he has said was, as of last night, it has not reached his desk yet. He is still awaiting the recommendation of his legal office.
So he will have to wait for that. Harry, I have a follow-up question on Secretary Roy Cimatu overseeing the operations or the situation in Cebu. Why the need for that? And did it actually mean that the president was quite unhappy, possibly, with how the IATF handled it or the local government in Cebu that he needed to appoint somebody else to oversee the situation there?
The president was very clear, no? And I'd like to emphasize that we're talking of Cebu City, not the province, no? Because only Cebu City and Talisay, no, are under ECQ and MECQ, no. But the president
MECQ.
said that there's no point in resorting to finger pointing. There is a problem in Cebu City and Talisay, and he wants a ready solution. That's why he's appointing Secretary Simato. Secretary Simato in the past has also been designated by the Philippines, by the president himself, to deal with OFW issues in places like Libya. No? So this is not the first time that Secretary Simato was given a special mission by the president. He was also designated to clean up Boracay as well as to clean up Manila Bay. No? So I guess you can say that Secretary Simato is a person that the president turns to when he wants something done. And he wants the COVID pandemic somehow managed in Cebu City, and he has full faith in Secretary Simato to do just this.
Does it mean that he was disappointed with some members from the IATF or some officials from Cebu City? Would it be safe to say that?
I'd like to reiterate that the president said this is not the time for finger pointing. And that's why he said that as a Cebuano himself, he knows the Cebuano character, and they may have just been overconfident, and that is why we have this problem in Cebu. He refused to resort to finger pointing. I'd like to underscore to the fact that there is a regional IATF in Cebu City, but IATF itself, or the national IATF, prescribes guidelines for national compliance, but we do not deal specifically with any particular city. It is the local RITF in coordination with the local government.
Secretary Harry Roque, sir, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Maraming salamat, Pinky. It's always a pleasure, and good morning.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.